Welcome, everyone. Today is episode number 3. I'm really excited to have Miss Vanneza. You're going to be learning a lot about her, and we're going to be digging deep. I hope that you're having an amazing day, that everything is going really well. And here she is. She's coming in already. Hi.
Hey, this is
Welcome.
so stressful trying to do this practice. How are you?
I'm good. We're now live. It's exciting. We're finally going to be able to chat about this, and I hope, because some people are hopping on now, and get to the nitty gritty about the great, the problems, the ugly of this kind of niche within our industry. And some people have no idea. They don't even realize what the heck a booker or entertainment coordinator is. So we'll dig into that for everyone that's listening. We'll be listening after the show. Like, by all means, comment. We'll make sure to read it. We'll answer back if you can't join us live. But if you are coming in, please, we love hearing the energy, the vibe, seeing your stories and learning more. So I have here, I wanted to introduce Miss Vanneza. So she's an like a seasoned entertainer of over 23 years of experience in South Florida entertainment industry. So she knows her stuff. I've seen her around and heard about her for many years. She's trained under flamenco with the artist Irene Reimer, and she expanded her career into Miami's nightclub scene and Middle Eastern restaurants. So you may have seen her in the past live, or now you know. Her popularity and demand led her to establish the company Your Exquisite Entertainment. So she was managing a group of like top-notch and also up-and-coming dancers for local venues, private events, gigging. So currently, right now, she's focusing on the exclusive private events, pop-up type of performances, teaching fire prop courses. She's awesome at fire, by the way, and maintaining her status as a top-tier entertainer in South Florida. Woo! So welcome!
Thank you.
So one of the things that I always like to start off with, because we have new people that come in and listen, and like, what the heck is Let's Talk? Like, why are we doing? What's going on?
Yeah.
Just a little quick, brief summary for any of you that are new. Basically, this is kind of like a little monthly episode where we go over the heart to talk about subjects and topics in the industry. Basically, the things that you're like, oh, I didn't know I could talk about that. Or maybe you're talking about to your husband, your better half, your best friend, and you're just like unleashing hell because you don't know where else to talk about it. This is where we do that. And what we like to do is that one of the goals is to always have a dancer that's been mentioned by a previous speaker at some point come on. So Vanneza was one of the dancers that was mentioned in the first episode. And so I was like, oh my gosh, we gotta have her. So here we are. And this is going to be the next episode. So for right now, I'd like to give people a little bit about your background. I know we just did kind of, the general view of everything, but as far as the entertainment coordinator space, just tell us a little bit about your background there.
Well, I didn't study event coordinating or anything like that. I think you and I both kind of started off in the same way, which is, we were at a couple venues that just wanted to work with us, but we couldn't be everywhere. So what better opportunity than to reach out to other professional dancers that will be willing to team up with you and tackle on, the industry. So I started in that manner. I met a couple of belly dancers, Deanna, of course, Denise. There's a couple of seasoned dancers that have been around for a while, and that's how Your Exquisite started. It was very unofficial until, more demand. And then, I decided to make it something legit and official, brand it, make it look polished and something exclusive.
Yes. And similar vein, so I was a booker for a couple of venues. One venue where the client was like, we only want you, and if you ever leave, and I did after 13 years, they were very particular about who could go there. They were very unique. And another one that didn't care. They just needed people and they needed to fill the gap. Like, and I was like, okay. So there's a whole
Yeah,
spectrum that we'll get into,
sure.
here about what the heck it's like. It's not like people think, oh, if I book dancers, I can do this and X. And it's like this very like structured thing. There's more people involved in the decision-making process. So
Yes.
little background there. So thank you for sharing your side for sure. I think it'd be good to maybe start it off kind of like the way we were chatting about. It's like, well, what the heck is an entertainment coordinator, a booker? What is that? So I'd love to hear your definition, and I'll just kind of add a couple nuggets in there as well. But
Yes.
what comes to mind?
So as you're stating, it's not something that anybody can just do, like if you want to do it right, you need to have contacts. You need to have a reputation if you want to get called and booked, and for it to flow without you having to like really put work into it to market yourself. Because I was already a dancer and I stepped into this role, I didn't have to market myself that much. It was just like, okay, you got you over here, over there, 3 venues, and then a new venue pops up and they see that you're already working with 3 venues. Then they see that you have some kind of credentials, reputation. And so that's a selling point for them to say, okay, I'll work with you.
Yeah.
Basically, we have to vet dancers. So we're scouting dancers that are ready to perform. We do schedule management. We book these girls depending how many venues. I would do my schedule a month in advance. So, at the end of the month, I'm already thinking the month ahead, who's available, who's not available, take into account people have vacations. Certain venues don't want to see certain dancers, and certain dancers probably don't prefer to go to those venues. So it's a lot of juggling with the scheduling.
Yeah.
God knows I made a lot of mistakes, double booking people. It's a lot of work.
Mm-hmm.
And you take care of, depending on what you want to offer to the client. At least my offerings were not only scheduling, but it was also marketing. So on my entertainment page, I would market the shows. I would have a flyer by the beginning of the week. The dancer had something to share, some marketing material if they wanted to promote their show for the weekend. The venue also could use the same marketing material to put on their page. It was just a constant thing to market the shows that were going to happen the weekend that was coming up. So it's marketing, management, and then the guarantee that you're going to get a top quality product and hassle free. You don't have to deal with each individual dancer. At least the venue doesn't have to deal with them. They don't have to worry about if somebody's sick, somebody called out. Like, it's not their problem. It's my problem.
Yeah.
So I handle, if I have to fill in for somebody at the last minute because nobody's available, then I'm the one who has to go. So it's basically just a guarantee that you're going to have a show, a professional show every single weekend. Performers arriving on time, dressed, professionally, acting professionally, the whole 9 yards. It's just one less thing that the venue needs to worry about.
Yeah.
And in return, I charge a fee for that management, aside from what the dancer gets paid. And then outside of just booking entertainment at weekly venues, there's also booking for private events, which I think takes a little more coordination, the back and forth with the clients, contracts, any special requests. Sometimes they have particular tastes and they don't want you to just send them anybody. They want to actually pick the dancer that they want to be there. Just giving them those options, costume colors, coordination, any other details of the sort. And then payment. It's a very uncomfortable topic and conversation to have, especially if you're new to the business. Sometimes new dancers are afraid to charge what they want to charge because XYZ. So at least with an entertainment coordinator or a booker, you don't have to worry about any negotiations because that's what I'm doing for you on your behalf. You don't have to worry about waiting around for your payment at the end of the night. At the end of every single weekend, I was sending everybody their payments, regardless of the fact whether the venue had paid me already or not. So
Mhm.
it's just a safe and guaranteed place to actually start getting your feet wet and getting some experience before going out on your own, if that's something that dancers aspire to do. Or there's some dancers that don't want to do everything on their own, and they're happy with just getting booked and
Take care of it
collecting their
all.
payment.
Yeah, yeah. There's definitely a little bit for everyone. Another thing that I think that's important is that bookers generally have like you mentioned it beforehand in like a conversation, like the safety aspect, because you're negotiating, you're booking, you're talking, but you're also, I mean, there was like one venue where we would always have a server walk us to our car because it was like a billion miles away to get to the car, or making sure that the contract for the restaurant said you need to have no glass, you can't have this ish on the floor, like depending on the place. There's one venue where there's always napkins on the floor, and there was another one where it's like, no, you need to move all your tables around, like we need a place to dance. So there's a safety concern aspect for anyone that's listening that's like, oh my gosh, okay,
Yeah.
there's like more and more to it. Um, and so I would say entertainment
we're,
coordinator.
we're there to vouch for the dancers for
Yes.
anything and everything they want. Absolutely. Even I would have weekly meetings and just hear out, we had a chat. If any dancers had any complaints that we needed to address, then it was, that's our responsibility to make sure that they're happy and they're safe.
That's nice. And there's different levels and tiers. Like you have a very detailed, like very full circle type of booking process, like an entertainment coordinator process. Some bookers I've been with are like, they just do the schedule and there's no marketing, there's no, it's just like, there's a lot that's still the dancer. I think yours is unique where you do a lot, like the full circle, like very much the event coordinator that I would think of like for other type industries in here. So it's very nice. Another thing that I kind of see that falls into this too is kind of like it's like a growth accelerator for talent. So you have like an eye, a knack, a feel, a vibe, a experience of what your client needs, what they probably is going to fill their gap, their goals or motivations for their venue. Sometimes it's a look, sometimes it's a style, sometimes it's, whatever training they have that might be unique, that's going to fill that. So you kind of also like very much an art that I think that bookers generally need to have. They need to have that eye, which is kind of like one of those things that you just can't teach sometimes. You
Um,
gotta have an eye for talent.
not only that, but I mean, entertainment as a whole in like the belly dance world is like you can't teach that. I don't know how to explain it because everybody's so everybody's trained and it it could be very traditional, but then like when you step into the entertainment world, some clients, they don't give a shit about that. They don't want to see Taksim, or they don't want to see none of that. They want to see you turn on those LED lights.
Uh-huh.
They want to see you get up to dance. That's what's going to make you like the popular one. Oh, if the people are happy and they're getting up and they're dancing and they're going to come back, that you're the winner.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah, yeah.
it's almost like it's a little difficult because at the beginning when I started doing it, it was almost like, I don't want to say shunned upon, but it wasn't like, I wasn't doing shows at like, the galas and, the workshops or anything like that. It was like super traditional. I was just like out in there, trying to make this a thing, trying to make it fun. Just like how you see the girls in Egypt, they're dancing the marganat, like at the club. It's like a belly dance go-go dancer. And since I started in go-go dancing, I was just like, oh, this is fun. This could work. And some venues are made for that, especially in Miami.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And then
Oh,
and then you have traditional ones too that probably they don't want you to use a bunch of props and they want you to use specific music.
yeah.
But here it's like, it's a melting pot of different cultures that we can't just niche it down to super traditional. We have to make it fun for everyone, even if you don't understand and speak the language.
Yeah. for sure. So then, like, in a nutshell, just, I guess, put it together for anyone like, okay, wow, that's like a lot of what they do. Interview, they select members, y'all, bookers coordinate, communicate, like, all the time. It's communication, 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 communication.
Yeah.
Anytime your baby needs to go, anytime you've got an injury, anytime you've got to fight with your significant, I mean, the communication is crazy. And that's with the client a lot too. There's marketing and promo. There's organizing events and trainings and shoots for the dancers that are in your entertainment group and things like that. They're optional, but there's different tiers and levels. Relationships with owners, contacts, planners, you were saying, you negotiate rates and terms. It's someone that has a business sense. You create the contracts, you revise the contract, you update the contract, you execute the contract. You do that on every so what range term of time. And let me think. And any issues and safety things that we were chatting about too. I think that kind of like sums up, just in a nutshell, what a booking coordinator does for anyone that's going to listen in on this and is maybe deciding to join one or was in one, but they're all different. You have to.
They're all different, definitely. And to piggyback, Sienna mentioned on the comment, the mentorship aspect is big. Helping these dancers with costuming and show flow and, you know, picking the right music, you know, because like I said, the doing it in the entertainment aspect is not so, you can't perform like if you were performing on a stage in a dance studio type show. It's not the same, and it's not something that you can learn either. It's a personality thing. You definitely can't be shy.
You have charisma.
Or if you are, that shyness has to be short-lived if you want to stay in this for long term. You kind of have to just like put yourself out there, feel it, and kind of you know, get with it pretty quick if you want to, you know, if you want to get called back again.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a lot of like guiding of like, okay, this costume maybe works for you a little bit better, or like, you know, it's very flashy, it's entertainment.
Yes. And I think that goes into sometimes like, if you are going to join a group, even if it's, you know, you kind of in this industry with or without a group, you need to have a thick skin. I think we mentioned like in several episodes now, like you are in the arts. You will be criticized, judged, applauded, the whole spectrum. And so as a booker, you are like that middle person where the client has some really direct opinions. And sometimes as bookers, we have to really soften it out to not like have our dancers be like, I'm going to quit, you know. And then you have opinions from the dancer and you have your own opinion because you're also looking at it holistically, right? So I think that as we get into some of the stories we're going to share, that I need everyone to hopefully keep this in mind, like have a really open mind and understand that there are more people involved, even servers. I've had servers that get into the manager's ear and they say, oh, this dancer's good. We don't like this girl. She's not cool.
You're right.
Everyone that is in those spaces is involved in the decision-making process at some sort of level, even if it's like subliminally, you know, like the owner's best friend is, you know, a general manager. If they have an opinion of the dancer that they saw once and they came in a year later, you better believe you're going to sense that in some way if they don't like it. So,
you're right. Everyone has a say.
Everyone has a say. And I think that's something that people don't realize, or in business, I mean, you know it, but in belly dance industry where business isn't really that strong of a talent among other artists currently, generally, not everyone, that's a thing. I think we'll string along some of the stories that we've each experienced, and maybe other people listening will be like, oh my gosh, I had this thing and I had this thing, and just keep this in mind. Which brings us to, I'd love if you can share okay, a specific story, but tell me about, before you even get into a story of like, this is kind of what my experience was and maybe this was happening, but just your core motivation for even, like if you had to sum it up in one line, you know, why are you an event entertainment coordinator? You know, what got you in it? What keeps you going? And then tell me your story of something that's happened as a booker. so people know the real behind the scenes.
So in summarization, I mean, I got into it because of demand, uh, and I wanted to leave the industry better than how I found it.
I love that. Okay.
I wanted to, yeah, we put a lot of time and work into this, especially in entertainment. You know, everything is so expensive.
Sure
The
is.
trainings, the props, the costumes, and we need to be paid accordingly. And as times evolve, uh, economy changes, you know, like our rate should reflect that as well.
Yep.
So, I'm very direct. I don't have a problem talking about these topics with anybody about money and value and worth. So it, I didn't have an issue with, you know, saying, hey, things are going to be changing and the rate is going to be this now. And if if they appreciated it, which in many cases they did, and they saw the value in it, they were like, okay, that's fine, I agree. Let's talk about what it is that you want to change or what it is you want to charge, and we go from there. And then, you know, um I've had people that say, no, I don't want to pay anymore. And usually that happens more in the private party sector. And um, I'm okay with that too. I'm like, okay, well, when you have the budget, we could, you know, you can call me again.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with saying no. And I rarely negotiate any pricing anyway. So uh, the the fact that I wanted to change change the environment for dancers and the treatment for dancers, it was one of my main driving forces to get in all of this.
Love it. Now then, tell me a little bit about maybe in the past. I know you mentioned there were some instances where like a dancer maybe didn't deliver, you know, and how maybe just dive into one of those to get it in there.
um I I want to say I think I'm really grateful that I've had pretty good experiences. I've never had anything like horrible happen that just like shook me and made me question like what I was doing. But I going back to one of the lives you had, I think it was before Portia, belly dancer.
Talia?
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
talking about teachers and this space and how you end up being like people's therapist and because they're paying you, you know, like that fine line,
Mm-hmm.
because these dancers, they're coming to me as students or their background is in that environment that leaks over to me too.
Mm-hmm.
So,
That's true.
you know, some dancers
Mm-hmm.
think it's like a click, like you kind of owe them certain spots on the schedule, certain amount of days, and it's very much a lot of factors are taking into place. It's is the client happy with you? And also on my end, are you following the rules? Are you being professional? Are you showing up to your gigs on time? You know, like this, because there are penalties to you if you don't show up on time,
Like anything else.
or if you cancel and you just left everyone hanging, you know, like we were pretty good about that. But one instance, I had a dancer who was just late all the time, and she was a beautiful girl and she was very much liked, and you know, I think that was okay for her to just do whatever she wanted. And she thought she was going to get away with it. And oftentimes she kind of did. But it got to the point where it was just so much that I was just like, okay, we have to put our foot down. There are consequences. And also all those instances also made me kind of remodel and put certain rules into place because, you know,
Yes.
there is no like handbook of rules. You know,
Yeah.
you just end up having a real life instance, and you're like, oh, okay, now we have to talk about this as a group, and we have to, we have to be on time. I understand there's Miami traffic, and 10 minutes is okay, but like 30, 40 minutes late, like you're running
Yeah.
into the next person's shift, and you're just throwing everyone off course, and it's just very disrespectful and not considerate of anything. So uh this dancer was very upset and wanted to go over me and speak to the owner, and thought that the owner was going to back her up over me.
Mm,
And it didn't happen that way, and we just had to part ways.
yeah. I,
So, you know,
yeah. Keep going.
some of these dancers, they just have audacity, there's like no level of respect. And I know I talked to you about this. Like, many people didn't even know that my company was my company. I never made myself the star dancer. I very much wanted to all my dancers to feel that we were equal, that my fight was their fight, and whatever rate that I'm going to fight for myself, or I think is fair for me, is the same one I'm going to give to you. Like, we're all in this together. And um that, I guess, that equality really confuses some people, that they think that, they forget that I'm still the boss, even though I don't treat you or act like it. Like, you know just be professional. So I would say that was one of the instances that somebody, one of the dancers, tried to go over my authority and go directly to the owner of that venue. But, like, my relationships are, you know, hardcore with these people, that they were just like, yo, what's up with this girl? She's complaining about you. And, I'm like, she's always late, right? She's always late. Okay, well, there's consequences if you're late. So they
I would say,
preferred they preferred to keep the whole group and lose one dancer, rather than to go behind my back and be like, yo, we like her. We don't want you anymore. We want her to stay,
yeah.
which is what happens a lot of times. That's
Mhm.
how other dancers come in and steal other dancers' gigs. They just, sneak their way in. And I've heard tons of stories, and I'm sure you have too, of
Yeah.
shady things like that. But yeah, I would say just dancers overstepping themselves and not respecting the hierarchy.
Yeah. I think that's one of those things that I'm so glad you mentioned, because I, as a very new dancer, I got into gigging after a year. My teacher got me a place to dance that had opened. And I mentioned this because you said about the hierarchy. So if my teacher, and this is why it's so important to have some sort of mentor or teacher, because if you don't, you don't know. So I was very lucky that she said that there's like, there's a thing called bookers. That's what we call it in Orlando back in the day. Event entertainment coordinators, etc. There's names, but I'm going to refer to it as bookers because I'm Orlando area. So she was like, if she hadn't told me, my 19-year-old hungry ass would have just gone to every restaurant and just been like, hi, because I'm very like, if I want something, I get it done, right? But because that one little thing of like, oh yeah, just see if there's like a booker. And sure enough, like half the venues I'd contact, they would have it at the time. Like I'm thinking like my 1920s. Some of them were brand new. They didn't have any. They didn't even know what the heck a booker was. They were like, huh? We just make the food. Like what are you talking about? So it's very important that I think that people who maybe didn't know this, like hear this, like there is a hierarchy, if usually, and if there isn't, then you're in the clear. You can create it or have another booker, and maybe you don't want to be the booker. Hey, you're a booker here at, this place. I don't want to be the booker. No, thank you. Like, could you just know that there's this venue and maybe put something together? Because
Yeah.
I either don't have the experience, don't want to deal with, all of the group, or maybe I do want to be the booker, and okay, then I know, like, hopefully I have the experience and knowledge, the business sense to make that happen in said venue.
Yeah. I mean, what you're saying is super valid. Like, if we're talking about how we started back in the day, but today's day and age, all venues have an Instagram, and it doesn't take rocket science for you to scout out there. You know, if you want to go to a venue, what are you going to do? You're going to look them up on social media, right? Usually they're going to post if they have a dancer or not. You'll see posts.
True.
So you just inquire, you just ask. Is this your regular dancer? Do you do the booking directly, or is there somebody else I should talk to? Like,
ask on social media. Like, there's a bunch of pages for South Florida belly dance, Orlando belly dance,
yeah,
North Florida. Just put, is there a book at blah 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 venue?
yeah.
There's so many ways. That's so true. I know. There's also like the whole sense of, yes, the hierarchy, and when there's so many situations where like being in these groups and they're just wonderful. Like you just get constant work. You know, you have your flow of income. You have like your steady pace, and yeah, you could do that on your own, but it's a lot more management. You can choose to do it with a group, and then you have like that camaraderie in these places. You have like the balance, and then there's those times where you sometimes have a bad egg in the group, you know, and that bad egg can kind of feed and give that vibe to the group and kind of ruin it a little bit, or like plant things in the head that you're just like, this sounds weird, like this doesn't sound right. Have you ever been through anything like that?
Sort of. I want to say sort of. I'm trying to like, how do I put this? So fuck it. I'm just gonna say it. So, I got to a point in with my entertainment company that I wanted exclusivity from my dancers, which
Yeah.
it took a while for me to get there because I didn't think it was fair for me to ask of that if I couldn't provide a certain quota for dancers. So what I mean with exclusivity is you can only work for my entertainment company. You cannot work for other entertainment companies. And you know, really, like, I was probably the only one around. There's probably like maybe one or two that were there, but it was mainly like one person that was taking most of the gigs. And when I did that, it kind of, you know, ruffled some feathers because that meant that they couldn't work with these other companies. And we had a discussion. I had written out, you know, a contract. We went through it, what it explained, like what it meant, what I expected of them, and you know what they were going to get in return, and they could agree to it or not.
Yeah.
And at that time I had a lot of venues, so you know these girls were pretty busy, and there was an instance or so where it's just like, you know, I know some of these dancers, they live off of this. So, you know, a night off of not working is not an option. It's just like, it's either stay home and don't make any money or just go out and take this gig, whatever. It's not going to kill me. So, you know, it's just this need of having to be out there and be working that I came upon, circumstances where dancers, they just didn't want to be exclusive anymore because they didn't think it was fair that they couldn't go dance for someone else. And I before doing the exclusivity thing, I was running into issues that I was trying to uphold a certain standard and a certain rate, and it's a conflict of interest for my company if I am asking for you and I'm promoting you at this rate, but under the other company you're taking $100 less, then you're the same person for two different rates. That it doesn't make any sense. Doesn't make any sense. So I
Another
can't.
hear
Yeah.
about it, and they're going to be like, well, they pay her blah 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 down the street, right? And then why were you charging us 100, 200 more type of deal?
Bad.
Okay.
Bad. Or let's say for a private party, I'm promoting you, I'm showing the client the picture, but my rate is at 400. But then the other company is going to pay you like 250. And it's like, but they're selling the client the same picture of the same girl.
Uh,
So it's like, I can't have this. I can't have this. So that's where I wanted to define the difference between what I am offering and what other companies are offering. And I'm a firm believer of, you know, your product is speaking for you. Don't, I never scouted girls that were beginners. They were always professional, seasoned girls. I always wanted to just work with the best, do less training, even though that meant less commission for me. I didn't care. I preferred the reputation that I was sending the best over trying to make a bigger cut over an amateur or a student. And, and so that's where I tried to differentiate my company with other companies.
yeah.
But some girls didn't want to, you know, be exclusive. So, you know, they could be honest with me and tell me that they, you know, that they're going to go gig for someone else, or they could do it anyway and not post anything on social media. What would I know? You know, I wouldn't know. But, you know, there were some instances like that where, you know,
That's more business end, I think, and that's where there can often be a lot of assumptions or lack of education sometimes. Whenever I hear the word exclusive, I think of like luxury. I think of luxury brands, and they're very exclusive. Even like when you do social media deals and you decide to partner with a specific brand and it's like a luxury, you're not going to be like with Movado and then tomorrow I'm going to do like Rolex. Like it's usually like, no, for this contract term, you will be Movado and you're going to be paid well. You're going to have a, like, that's very normal for that, but I don't think that that's something that maybe exclusivity is often, or luxury end of the industry, because most people are like grappling to just try to make money in the arts for whatever reason, but
yeah,
there's people that make really good money in the arts and consistent money in the arts.
yes,
And it's a very different mindset, a very different world, that when you
it is.
get to be luxury, it's usually a very good place to be, you know, with like luxuries, very nice.
But you know, if you're going to go luxury, that means your opportunities are probably not going to be as much, you know, as if there's, for one luxury brand there are 10 knockoffs.
Yeah. For one luxury, just put in perspective for someone that's listening, because there's some, I think it's very few of us that get to do really high-end, either private parties or high-end type of shows at venues. There's not so many. So kind of like what you're saying, so maybe some people understand who've never done it, is let's say, for example, I'll do one show, a gig for like $400, you know, for maybe like a private event at a venue or something like that. $500, whatever it may be. But versus the dancer that gets paid 125, 150 for like a set. So they would have to work 4 shows to make what I make in one 30-minute set. And that's where luxury is beautiful. And that's like a whole other thing of like why I'm into the private sector. But anyways, just to give context for anyone listening.
Yeah, no,
what the heck?
that's perfectly said. And you know, there are dancers that, like I said, live off of this, and they choose quantity over quality. I personally did not want to put myself in that kind of situation. I have my day job and I live off of my day job. In my dancing, I get to be picky as hell with it and decide what I want to do and how I want to invest my time and who I want to invest my time with. But that was my personal choice. And in a way, like what my idea, my niche doesn't meet everybody's thought pattern. You know, it's not for everyone.
Like anything, so, product or service. Yeah. Your target audience.
Yeah. So you know, maybe I was thinking pretty big and I was trying to include everyone, but I needed to understand not everybody was ready for this.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was my experience. Huh?
Okay.
What did you say?
Human as hell enough. Yeah, that's business too, you know. I think for me, one of the things that I shared with you was, and it goes back to like that safety aspect of like knowing the core motivations. So as a booker, there's going to be different bookers, like every booker is totally different than I've worked with. And I haven't worked with a zillion, but I've worked with a handful personally. Each one was very different. I myself am like different than the other bookers, right? And I will say that there's a safety aspect of you need to understand the motivation of your booker and understand if you are the right target audience for that booker. That booker has a certain portfolio of venues. They're looking for a specific thing. And so as the entertainment coordinator, the booker, you need girls that will fulfill that, right? And so the girls that you choose, and if you choose to be in the group, I think something that isn't talked about is what are the core motivations? If I'm a dancer and I just need volume, I'm just like, I don't care about the luxury. I need to be gigging every night. I don't give a fuck. You know, you need a booker that's about that. If you're a dancer that's like, no, I don't need to be doing 5 times the work. I'd rather do it in one. I have the level, the skill, the education, the business, like the experience, and that's your jive. You can find a booker that fits that. It's when they don't cross that there's an issue. Then that takes me to inexperienced bookers, which we've all been there. Oh my word, that's the only way to grow. But what I will say is, I have heard, I haven't experienced it from a couple of dancers in years past, and I haven't heard about it in recent years. Like I kind of chatted with you a little bit about it. Like we had a situation where there was a very new booker, pretty girl, sweet girl. I had met her like for something. And then like a year later, I'm not even in restaurants, mind you, I'm hearing this from people in the community, was there were like lawsuits, multiple lawsuits involved like in the state, because I think dancers, again, they usually need a booker because they don't really have either business sense all the way, maybe not the confidence or motivation to negotiate and do contracts or the know-how, blah, 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 blah. But maybe there was, I think, something missed of like, what am I signing? I need to read the contract. B, who's the booker and what are their context and background? In this case, it was someone that had a legal background. C, your best is read it if they have a legal background. And if you decide to opt out, like if you break a lease in an apartment, you need to know what happens. Or if you stay, you need to know what you're getting in return and make sure it aligns. And a lot of times, if you read, you'll be like, oh, this is an alignment, or it's not. Like, no biggie. But that to me was like a big red flag. I was like, I had never seen a situation where lawsuits were happening, you know, in the community. Like people were like super getting hurt. I was hearing, I spoke to one of these people that he couldn't say much because of legal stuff. And it was crazy. I never heard of that about that before. So I would say for anyone, like, understand what being part of a business means. Understand what you're signing, whether it's a house, a car, a lease, like an entertainment group. There's usually a lot of benefits. But you as a dancer, you need to do like internal work and know what the flip your motivation and goals are. What the hell? It's going like this. And the booker needs to, hopefully with time and experience, know how to, what are your dancers' core motivations up before in the interview process before they're like taken on. And that will probably save a lot of heartache
Sure.
for the few bad apples that are in the industry, because there's a lot of good apples.
I mean, I had same awful experience with the same person you're talking about.
So I hope it's gotten better, because I haven't heard things in a while, and I don't wish lawsuits on anyone ever, especially in like dance. Like, come on, like we're not doing surgery here, you know, like life's cancer, you know, like
I think also I think also the intention of this person was, she was very, or is very ill intentioned. Like if one of my dancers were to breach my contract, you think I would try to sue her?
Be like, okay, go.
Like I don't have the energy and time and money to do that to somebody. I'd just be like, listen, here's a warning. We can go through this if you don't understand. If you want to cancel it, we can cancel this. You don't have to work for me anymore. Like there's just so many steps you can take before you even go to that level. I think that at that point it's just malicious.
I think
And this
about
person was malicious towards me too, trying to, you know, file a complaint to the Better Business Bureau about me and my company.
oh my.
Yeah. And
Okay.
she thought she could bully me like she bullied other girls. She got her response.
My goodness.
You thought that I didn't know how to defend myself. I don't know how to read contracts. I don't have uh you know a lawyer also advising me and keeping my best interests as a company. Like when you open a company, you need to have a team, and that's
Mhm.
somebody that might can guide you legally, like filing your corporation, getting your a tax ID,
Yeah.
like get yourself an accountant to help you. Like I had a team helping me. So, you know, it's people like her that want to take advantage of people that don't know any better, and they get scared, and then they want to quit digging, or maybe their livelihood is at halt because now they're in some legal shit. Like,
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, I would say novice bookers,
oh,
novice dancers are both can be dangerous or it can be a beautiful growth accelerator, and I hope that communication and business and education and more empathy will not have things like that ever,
yeah.
happen like that again.
I mean, eventually, so many of these instances happen that it's just like the person is already is built a reputation to do things like this, and they're just nobody's gonna want to work with them.
I know.
So their
I would
career is short lived because it's just burning bridges left and right.
On the flip side, I have like a short story because I want you to. I have like another. Oh my god, you had so many good stories. I talked to you. I have a very short one that like kind of just came from this. So I've been on the side where I was the baby dancer. I had been at a restaurant for probably I was there like 6 or 7 years, and like 5 years in, I was like so bored. But I had been on the schedule. There was a booker, and she took care of the scheduling always. And then I started to notice that it started going like this, a lot less shifts, right? And so some people could react and be like, Booker, what the fuck, right? Like, if you want it. And I was like, oh no, I think it's the DJ. Because me and the DJ were just butting heads. Like, he was trying to turn it into like not a family friendly show and more of like something raunchy and like not even belly, like nothing related to belly dance at all. And I was like, what the hell, dude? Like, I got hired here as a belly dancer. I mean, if you want other things, great, but then don't promote belly dance. Like, you know what I mean? That's like my thing. So we were butting heads. And so I was like, oh, it's the DJ. So I go to the booker. I'm like, me and So we're not doing so well. I think he's the one that's affecting the scheduling, right? And she's like, mm-hmm. I'm like, okay. And I was like, I'm going to go look for something else. Basically, to myself. I didn't say that to the booker, but I gave her notice. Like, I wasn't like, oh, peace. Like, you're not going to have anyone dance tomorrow. But it took me like 2 weeks to find another place, another venue. And I was like, okay, like, let's finish the rotation. If you need anything, okay. But like, let's go. So I would say your exit is just like a regular job. Like, you don't go by and like leave the booker and the venue in the dust. If you can help it, like give notice, communicate. Like, we're not perfect, but try your hardest. I can understand if like someone died or something, right? Like, you gotta go, but if you can help it, it's like it's a job. Like, we are working a profession, no matter
Yeah,
what level.
you never know when you're gonna run into that booker again in the future, maybe at a better venue that you really want to be in. So like just be appropriate, be professional, uh communication, like you said. I mean, being a baby dancer, I know a lot of baby dancers that are not as wise to be like to put two and two together, like, oh well, I didn't get along with this person. They just think it's a personal thing, like you're not liked anymore, who knows what.
And
You just let your
the booker
mind.
like the brunt, and I'm like, it's not the booker. It's like everyone is involved in the decision
Yeah.
somehow. Like,
Mhm.
comes together, and that's kind of what I meant at the beginning. I was like, I'm just gonna see that story because I've been
Yeah,
there, y'all.
it happens, it happens, and then what can you do? And then uh as the booker, you need to see those things too. You can't force it and be like, well, I like Jennifer and I'm going to keep putting her on the schedule, like, because the client is the one who gets to decide yes or no. So
You're the boss.
that's another thing that I've seen in entertainment companies is they're like, well, we have a rotation and we have to put everybody fairly, but it's not, there is no
not.
We
Yeah.
try to be fair, but at the end of the day, if I don't want to see this girl, like I don't care if you have an honor system or you're trying to be fair. I don't want to see that dancer here.
Yeah. I've had owners be
Or
very,
they say, I really like this person. Can you bring her more? What are you
yeah.
going to say? No, and not, like gaslight her. I've seen this happen too.
I've had owners in private parties because they're different but the same in the content of like there's that person is the final decision. They're the ones that pay, you know? So it's kind of like, oh, I don't want a girl that's smaller than this size. I don't want a girl that's bigger than this size. I don't want a girl that's too blonde. I don't want a girl that's too brunette. I don't want a redhead. I don't want like the things we deal with is ridiculous as a booker, but it is serving the need of the client and the venue, and it's like our job to fill the gap, and it gives the economy a go. Like, this is the job. If you want the job, you need so many girls to fill that job, and they're happy to have the work that fill whatever the mold or the venue or the thing that they want, the vision. So it's a whole thing. How about like auditions? Can you tell me a little bit about when girls reach out to you about auditioning for the company and like they don't even know that it's like, I don't know, just all about that. Can you share a little bit about that?
Um, so I don't audition.
Okay.
I don't audition. I never had time for that. And it's not realistic. It's not realistic. It's nerve-wracking for the person. And it's not like a real life scenario, like when they're at a restaurant in front of a lot of people. It's actually, I think, more nerve-wracking there. So what I would do is I just go on their social media and I would study them. I would look at their videos if I liked what I saw,
Mhm.
if, they hadn't, they were obviously pretty, charming, available, kind, like you just kind of have a conversation with them and see where they're at. And then you try them out. I would try them out, but I would really let the restaurant be the ultimate deciding factor. I would just, I would just study them. I would vet them out. Sometimes it would be like a recommendation, or there's been, there was like one or two instances that I actually went to a dance school and I was just like hanging out and I was like, hey, who's that? She's
Yeah.
hot. She's hot. I like how she dances. Do you think she'd be willing to gig? And then like I would just approach, it would be like me just seeing what I liked, and then I've taken recommendations from other fellow dancers that were very good and also had a good eye as well, and I would trust their word.
Yeah.
Um, so I wouldn't audition. It was more like it was a recommendation, or I saw them and I was like, "Ooh, I want her to be part of my company," kind of thing. I want her, kind of thing.
Talent
Yeah,
scout.
yeah. And most times it works out. I don't think I've had a flop where it was just like, oh, it was horrible. Maybe like one or two times. The first time, because it was the first time, it was a little nerve-wracking. Maybe the owner was like, oh, she seemed a little nervous, but she was pretty, she was nice. And it was like, okay, I give that person the feedback and some words of encouragement. And it's all about boosting the confidence. And it's kind of like, okay, well, I can't put you on next weekend, it's too soon. Just work on this, work on that, and then we'll try it again. And then more oftentimes than not, second time would be better, and then
So on and so on.
it goes from there.
I can't believe it's almost an hour. Ah! Okay, quick.
I can
What
be
are some
talking
ways?
about this for a
No, there's so much in here. Okay, so hard. What are some ways that you feel that we could improve, the community as far as this topic is concerned, as either the person that wants to join the group or is part of the group or the booker that's working with the group? What are some things that you think will really help to make this better?
um so for Booker, um be a gigging dancer for some time, get to know the community who you're working for. I'm sure Miami community is not going to be the same as in any other state, vice versa. So it's kind of like, you know, before, you aspiring to be the booker, be the gigging dancer and
Very good,
get
yeah.
to know your atmosphere, make friends, get out of the scarcity mentality that, this person's going to steal my gig or whatever. What's for you is for you and nobody's going to take it. If they take it, it wasn't for you. Move on. But definitely, because a lot of people are like holding on to their little nugget, they are not educating or listening or asking the right questions and getting to know what are the norms around them. So you got to get out there, ask questions, make friends. I mean, like this day and age, we have social media. Like you don't even have to have face-to-face conversations. I've had a zillion girls reach out to me just asking me random questions because they just want to know. I'm more than happy then to give them all the answers, because if they decide to move to Miami, they need to know how it works here so they don't mess it up
Yeah,
for everyone else.
great.
So it's rates, even who to watch out for, who they should work with, like I mean, just stepping away. I'm not doing my company at the scale that I was anymore. I'm not doing entertainment at venues anymore. I'm just doing private events. So, um, just reach out, ask. I'm more than happy. Like for me, if anybody reaches out to me, I've had outsiders ask me questions. I've had outsiders still ask me, "Oh, I'm going to be on vacation in Miami. If you need a dancer, I would love to dance while I'm in town." I wish I could help them, but what I do is I recommend. I'm not in this space anymore, but I recommend you reach out to this person and see if they,
Yeah.
you can work something out with them. I think we just need to be maybe a little bit kinder in that space, like not only asking for information, but giving it without being taken advantage of, because there are some people that out there and they just want to, take up your time, picking your brain for free, for
Mm-hmm.
free,
Mm-hmm. There's a
and
fine line
then
where it's like, whoa.
for free, and then turning around and then doing, awful things. Uh, and so, um, as a dancer, or you're stepping into this space, you have the responsibility of knowledge, and you have the responsibility to uphold certain standards. So, in order for you to do that, you have to ask, because it's not the same in every single space.
Very true. I think that for me, a lot of it just comes to like that communication aspect of just understanding yourself as the person, like the employee, right? No matter what you do, and understand your goals, because you need to align with the group or the format that does it, and vice versa. Like as the booker, if you're doing like, let's say you said exclusivity, which is that's an awesome like top tier level when you get to that point as a booker, for example, you're going to need girls that, yeah, they get the business model off of that. Or if you're volume, you're really commercial, right? Super, you're going to have the girls doing 2, 3, 4 gigs a night, that's the commercial sector. And they're not the ones that are going to do well in luxury. A luxury client will usually not like a commercial dancer. And a commercial dancer may not like luxury. They don't really fit. They're very different niches. So I think that like understanding yourself as a dancer, the booker, and making sure that the alignment, the communication is there will help a lot with the community and make it better. Just like knowing your niche. Just know your niche.
Definitely. Yeah, and I mean, and your niche can change, because
Sure does.
I was when I started, I was super commercial, and then I was like, okay, well, everybody's commercial, and I kind of want to pull myself out of this pool and do something else. So going back to communication, just aligning yourself with what you want at the moment, and have good intentions.
I'm going to read some of the comments just because we're almost at time. Just make sure I hit everything. Ooh, my goodness. Look at these Thanks. Hi, guys. Thank you so much for joining. We can't wait to hear what you have to say, so don't be shy after it when we put the video up. We're here. Sienna, yes, the mentorship aspect. Oh, yeah, you mentioned that one. Yep, mentorship. That's like a really big plus of being in a group for sure. It just really accelerates like your learning.
It
For
does. It
Mark,
does.
only was the exclusivity, not private parties. Okay, cool. I was going to ask about the private gigs. Thank you for clarifying. Oh, okay. That goes into that. Luxury brands, like understanding what luxury, like I think that's like business sense again, like people understanding what's commercial, what's luxury. And there's so many other niches. We're just seeing two in the business world, and it applies to belly dance. Try to ending on a good note. Yeah. Like not just going by and like leaving a venue or your booker and your fellow dancers hanging,
Yeah.
because that sucks for everybody. We need a part two. Yes. It's so much. It's so much. Any closing words? Your wish for everyone that listens to this, about this. Would you like to kind of round it out?
Uh, so just keep in mind the reason why you're doing this. And a lot of times because we love it, right? And that's the reason why a lot of us dancers perform and do shows and do galas and because we love it. And it's important to do what you love and be valued and feel valued, so that way you put that love and effort into every show that you do. But at least for a gigging dancer, aside from love, we cannot pay our bills on love. So it's important to keep your vision clear on your worth, the investment you've made in yourself to get to the point as a gigging dancer. So aside from love yourself and make sure that you are putting a value on yourself that you think is fair and that is equally fair to the community, and just have fun. I mean, I've been doing this for so many years, and every time, aside from all the bullshit and the drama and everything that I have to listen to and hear it, the minute I'm out there and the music starts and the people are up and dancing and you're making the night, that changes everything. That changes everything.
Yeah, it's total magic.
We as gigging dancers, we sacrifice a lot of our personal lives. We miss holidays. We miss things because we're there for other people on their big events, on their holidays and stuff like that. So it it should be compensated. It should be a fair exchange. So yeah, keep that in mind.
I think my wish for the community on this topic is just having more compassion and empathy, and for people to learn about business. Like, I'll just keep harping it every episode. If you're like, I don't know business, I don't like, there's people that love it. Hi. Hey, like there's people that love this ish and know how to work numbers and contracts and negotiations, and like it's like your training. Just take a course, read a book, ask a friend, like
Yeah.
see a video.
Yeah.
It's everywhere.
We have ChatGPT now that can write contracts for you, for God's sakes.
No way. Anyway, this is so beyond me. I'm like old school in that sense. But yeah, I think there's a lot of opinions and a lot of assumptions in our industry. So just please, y'all, just like have an open mind that there's always a different point of view. There's a lot of gray. It's not black and white. And I think with bookers, it could seem black and white.
Yeah.
Or if you're part of a group, you may have one person say, "Oh my God, this is the most amazing thing I thought." You're like, "Wait, actually, no, it's actually this." And then it like goes around and or like the booker might say, "Oh, this is this way," and people like understand it. Just have clarity and communicate and have empathy.
Yeah.
That's all.
And I really appreciate that you reached out so I could share my story and my experiences. It's platforms like this that you probably can find this information online just like that. So, um, thank you for putting this whole series together. It is important for dancers, you know, to tune into their community just to find out like what is this about.
Thank you. And thank you for coming because you have to be really brave. And I'll say that every time you have to be brave to talk about this. And I think that's one of the things that people are like, oh, I never knew people were talking about this, or I thought it was only me or me and this thing. So y'all are
Mhm.
not alone. There's a lot of good, bad, growth, learning, mistakes. We all make them. And hopefully this show, you know, just kind of helps fill that in for us. We're humans. I adore you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time. And we look forward to seeing your commentary and hearing what y'all have to think or what y'all have experienced. And we'll keep it going on IG and Facebook. Have a good day, y'all.
Thank you. Bye. Have a good day.
Ciao.